Hey guys, HIRIHIRI here with a double review. This time I'll be reviewing the deluxe ZakuZaku ChipSlasher and the deluxe ChocoDonDan gun from Kamen Gavv. These are the signature weapons of Kamen Gavv's ZakuZaku Chips form and CHOCODAN form, respectively, and each consists between two modes and include one rider Gochizo. So, let's get started. First up, we'll take a look at the included Gochizo, starting with the HIRIHIRI Chips Gochizo. So this Gochizo, who the first part of its name translates roughly to burning or tingling, is a variant on ZakuZaku chips, but instead of being normal potato chips, it's instead hot chips. So it's got the same basic design, although it has the name written out as HIRIHIRI Chips instead. It's got a red packaging, you can see there's a bit of reddish tinge to the chips. If you open it up, we again have a bit of a reddish tinge to the chips inside, and you can see it's now holding some flaming chip swords instead of normal chip swords. Then we have the CHOCODON Gochizo, which is our first proper Choco type Gochizo. So once again, this one is red. You can see it's more of a box style packaging with the name CHOCODON written vertically. Got some nice little eyes in there. If we open it up, we now have the monster face, and you can see its little chocolate hands. Next, we'll use our Gochizo with the Gavv belt, starting with HIRIHIRI Chips. This gives ZakuZaku Chips form the HIRIHIRI Chips assist, setting his ZakuZaku ChipSlashers on fire. There's then the finisher, which is HIRIHIRI Chips Fire. And then CHOCODON. And there you have the transformation into Kamen Gavv CHOCODAN form. And the word says afterwards, paki paki, basically means snap, like snapping off a piece of chocolate bar. So then the CHOCODON finish. After that, we'll look at the ZakuZaku ChipSlasher. So, design-wise, it is a fairly flat-looking weapon, but it's still pretty creatively designed. So starting from the base, we can see that the grip is actually a squeezed pack of ZakuZaku chips. You can see that design is pretty faithful to the Gochizo. And then as we go up, we can see that design now leads to a bunch of chips being squeezed out of the bag that then form together to become a sword blade. And you can see there are even chips taken out of it to give it that kind of look of how potato chips are quite fragile. That design is continued on the back, and you'll see that the battery compartment looks a little bit different from the rest of it. And that's because for these side weapons for Gavv, they've done a pretty interesting thing in that, in order to perhaps save on cost and also allow them to be a pretty decent size compared to previous series weapons, they decided to make these out of foam. So if we take a close look, you can see the foam there. It does squish a little bit, but it's sturdy enough that it won't generally warp. So a majority of this is indeed foam, with pretty much the only plastic being used for the battery compartment, covered back here, as well as whatever parts are inside. Along with, of course, the trigger. So, this just works off pulling tabs, so we'll do that, turn it on. And now, for this, I have the trigger here, which will cycle through 4 different sounds, similar to the Gavv blade. The first 3 are basic attacks, and the 4th one is the finisher. And if you press and hold the trigger, it'll switch into HIRIHIRI ChipSlasher mode. So now we'll get 8 different sound effects with added flame effects. And pressing and holding the trigger again, we'll switch it back to ZakuZaku ChipSlasher mode. And finally, we'll look at the CHOCODONDan gun, which is technically 2 weapons in one. So, as you're looking at right now, this is the CHOCODAN gun. So, taking a look at the design, you can see that it is, once again, using that same kind of philosophy of using the kind of design and the shapes of that snack to create the weapon. So looking at the main body, you can see that it is a chocolate bar. Then it's been partially unwrapped. You can see the chocolate bricks with parts snapped off to form a gun shape. You can see the handle down here, which looks like it's made out of melted chocolate, or made out of chocolate that is slightly melting, probably from being gripped by warm hands. Then if you flip it around, we have the CHOCODON gun, which is the same thing as the flip side, but instead it's made out of white chocolate. You can see they even changed the coloring of the wrapping to distinguish it from the normal side. And once again, mostly made out of foam, with the exception of some plastic pieces for things like the battery cover and the trigger. So we'll take out the tab and we'll default to CHOCODONDan mode. So this has the same thing going as the ZakuZaku ChipSlasher, 4 selecting sounds. First 3 normal attacks. Then a finisher. So then we'll flip it around to the other side and switch it into the CHOCODON gun. And go through the sounds. First the basic attacks. And the finisher at the end. And of course switch it back to CHOCODONDan mode. Press and hold the trigger. And there we go. So overall, for these weapons, it is definitely something different they're doing with how they're being made, but it's not something that I'm necessarily opposed to. The printing on them is good, and though, again, they are both kind of on the flat side, I do kind of understand them doing this because, like I said earlier, I think that by making these weapons out of foam, it probably costs less to make them out of that than to make them out of plastic. So it does allow them to have these, more sizable, or rather these better sizes. And it is, nice that they do kind of have two modes built in, so you have more than just one set of sounds. Though I think that out of the two, the CHOCODONDAN gun does it better because it has that kind of dual side look to it. Whereas with the ZakuZaku ChipSlasher, the effect that you get for, with the mode change is better seen in the show, because obviously it would be very unsafe to set the weapon on fire, but it would have been nice if they did do that same thing where the flip side was designed to look a little bit different. Though it should be noted that in the show, whether it's a CHOCODAN gun or CHOCODON gun, it's technically painted the same on each side, or on both sides, but obviously for the toy version, it makes sense that they want to have that kind of flip side thing. And I think that's definitely good. As for Include Gochizo, this is a great way to get the deluxe versions of these two, but it should be noted that this is not the only way, as in a pretty unique turn, Bandai is also selling deluxe Gochizo on their own, along with included with their toys. However, these may be a little tough to get, as they also decided to throw in a gimmick where some of them have randomly an alternate printing for the stickers. So people have kind of been buying them in boxes to try to get those extra ones, but if you look on the aftermarket, you may be able to get some used deluxe ones. So there are options for if you just want the Gochizo and don't want the weapons to come with them. Next time I'll be reviewing the Valen Buster Kamen Valen Perfect Set. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KO50, writing off.